Hello YouTubers, I wanted to make a quick video about the 2014 Chevy Cruze with the 1.4 liter engine. It's about installing the version 3.4 Cruze kit to fix. Basically this car was running like crap. Pretty sure it had diaphragm disc leak. The whole valve cover was leaking oil everywhere. It was just running super lean, throwing all kinds of codes. Overall lean. Mass airflow sensor was also lean. The front sensor 1 O2 sensor was also lean. Even the back O2 sensor was lean, but that wasn't permanent, so that was just once. I did end up changing that O2 sensor. I'm pretty sure that one was bad. The voltage reading on it was wacky, so that code actually was gone after I changed that, but the lean was still here, which led me to the Cruze kit after doing a bunch of research and figuring out what the problem was. So back there in the intake, I guess basically I was just going to run through a bunch of tips that I found after installing this that might make it easier for other people. The new version kit is a little bit different. I haven't seen too many videos on this kit yet, but basically the premise is the same. So I guess the first thing that you would do is you pop off the old hose because it's covering the engine. Pull this cover off. You just basically pry here and lift it up. The old hose looks like this. It's this little corrugated thing. I cut the ends off this one already because you have to reuse them when you put in this replacement hose. And so basically what I did to cut those off, which was probably like one of the hardest parts to me, I just used the Walt carbide razor blade, and I used some cutters, and this little screwdriver actually was pretty helpful. But basically I just ran the razor down the edge. It's not focusing, but yeah, you just make a line in it, cut it, and then once you get the edge started, what I did is you could take the pliers and like kind of yank it open, like try and split it open, and then once you get it started, you could slip the screwdriver. As you keep cutting, you could slip this under and basically pry open the edge that you started. And I did the same thing for the nylon lines on the canister ends. So basically that's what I did to cut them all off, because I didn't have good luck with the heat shrink method for the canister. So I just cut off all the ends and put them on the hose. But anyway, getting back to the car. So once you get those ends off, you basically clamp these hoses on. And I use these Irwin bi-skirt pliers to crush the ends, slide them on. There's no order necessarily that you put it together. I started with the back first and then work my way up. This is still not attached yet. I just wanted to make a video while it's fresh in my mind before I finish here. And so basically you start at any end you want. You put a fitting on, and then before you clamp the other end, make sure you put both the clamps on, or else you won't be able to get them on. But anyway, I highly recommend when you put these on, they're like barb fittings. So I used a whole bunch of silicone, especially on the thicker ones, because you're going to be twisting. It's not that easy to twist them on. I used a rag on it, put my hand over the end, and then you'll get a workout twisting it on. It also helps to put it on both sides. I put it inside the hose and on the barb, and that actually made it quite a bit easier. So that's one helpful tip. Basically, this is kind of what it looks like. I know that this will fit in here, but basically once you take everything off, I had to pull this line out. This is kind of tight to pull this out, so be careful that you don't break it. There's also another clip down here. This will give you some slack to pull it away from the hose to get this unclipped. This, you just pinch the sides. I actually used these to help because it's kind of hard to get your fingers in there, so I just pinched it with that and then pulled it off. This was on pretty tight. I didn't have to take off any of these wiring harnesses. They weren't in my way, personally. This you can pull up and out, and I've set this to the side. Originally, I took this whole clip off, but you will only have to get in here. In this tab, you push this direction, and it unhooks, and there's 2 of them. So just work one, and then lift the whole panel upwards, and then it should pop out, and then you can feel this one pop out. And then you can remove this whole wire and set it on the side. It's pretty easy. I know some videos kind of left out which direction you press this, but it's towards the air filter. The other thing I would note is on the original hose that goes to the intake back here, it runs here. So there's this clip. This kind of pinches like this over this harness, and then the line ran through this side. So to get this off, you pop that open, and on the back side here, there's this little clip that goes all the way down on the valve cover. So it clips on to this part here. So you gotta reach under there and pull that out and pop it off. I found this easier just to remove it, so that's out your way. That was one thing I didn't see on other people's videos. If my camera will ever focus, there we go. And then basically you have to pull up this wire to get it out of the way and tuck it in behind these little holders. So I pulled it all the way here. The injector part is a little tight, so be careful when you're yanking on it. This part is pretty tight also. So I unclip this sensor. You just slide this back, this little red piece, and then you press down this, yank it off. What else? This one's still disconnected. I believe, yeah, you just pull this little tab here. It goes right here. I'm going to redo this clamp. It's a 7mm. It seems a little loose to me. This was already missing when I got to this car, but there's supposed to be a little red clip that locks this in. So right now I could just yank this off, but it's pretty snug, so I'm not too worried about it. I also removed this. It gives you some play in this wiring harness as well. I didn't have to loosen the O2 sensor. What else? So this fitting comes off. There's a little metal clip. It's right there. Don't lose it. Basically goes in the slot. So you just like pull it out with that tiny screwdriver that I showed before is fine. And then I'm going to see if I could reuse this little clip. The hose also runs through there. Not sure if it's going to fit yet. Oh, yeah, there's also on this vacuum line back here, there's a little clip right there. It's like a circle one, and you can pop this out towards you too. That'll give you some more play for this vacuum line, because I just got it all the way out of the way, so I didn't break it. And the only other harness I took off, which is probably optional, was this. I believe it's a camshaft position sensor. You pop this little gray piece that way, and it's honestly, it was pretty tight. I almost broke it. But then the whole piece just pops out. You don't have to press anything. What else? So this evac canister, basically this is like the fuel line. It just pulls off. Like straight away, like so. And there's a little clip that holds it in. It looks like this. So the narrower end that's farther from me goes towards the canister, and it goes in up underneath. So it clips in from the bottom. So to take it off, you press it down. And the wiring harness is back here. It's basically got this little tab in the back here. So you just push this in and pull it that way. And then you can pull out this whole canister by just pulling this to your left. You can see the routing. of the new kit. So the original one has all these nylon fittings. I was not able to heat them up and reuse them. When I tried to press it on, it literally folded in half and I almost broke this connector. It's already cracked down here, but the other side's good, so it still kind of locks. For this, you just press in like the front one and lift up. Again, I found it helpful to use the pliers just to kind of wiggle it around, and it's just a little bit easier to grab onto it. Same thing with the clamps. Make sure that you put both of them on before you finish the two ends. Trying to think. Oh, the valve cover. That's probably the main reason I made this video, was for the valve cover. Because everybody on YouTube, basically, they're like, okay, now remove the valve cover. And they're just like, and it just pops right off. And you're like, wow, it must be so easy. But that was not the case for me. I mean, I was using that rubber mallet, beating the crap out of it. I was shaking the whole car trying to yank it off. I mean, it was like, there was so much oil baked onto it. It was so stuck. So basically what I had to do was I used this plastic pry tool. This was from Harbor Freight. And you can still see it's covered with all kinds of grime from the gasket and oil under there. But basically what I did was I used a little metal screwdriver until I could get this started. I basically just started ramming this in and pushing it inward and prying. I mean, this was bending. I almost broke it. So basically just get it in there and work. I had to work inch by inch all the way around this corner. This side is very easy to get to if you do change the air filter. There's these little Phillips screws. 1, 2. There's one under there. They go all the way around. They were on pretty tight. I'm not sure if this filter was ever changed. I threw a K&N in there. So I just used the Milwaukee Impact, and it made quick work, but just hang on to it so you don't round those heads, or else, because, I mean, Phillips aren't the greatest in my opinion. I mean, that thing was impacting the whole way out, so. And then the hose here I removed. It's 2 7mm nuts. One thing to look for on yours, I noticed, so this hose goes on like this. The plastic end goes this way and the rubber end goes towards the turbo. So I just noticed when I had it off that this was actually split by the clip. So I'm going to reuse it for now, but I probably will end up replacing it at some point. But anyway, if you remove this cover, you could get the pry tool in on the side here pretty easily. And working around this back corner is really tight. I had to go lefty and just got it underneath those lines. Luckily, once you work away around the whole front and get this side loose, you kind of just yank up the back a little bit. And then I had to pry this corner all the way to this edge. And I couldn't even get the tool in on the last corner. It was still hanging on. I was able to like get my hands underneath it at that point. I was able to break it free after fighting with it. I did notice when I had it off though, well, you do have to pull the coil pack before you take off the valve cover. Should mention that. It's torque screws. Once you pull that up, I was expecting to have to fight with that, but that was actually, surprisingly, it just came right out. But I know spark plug boots could be really stuck on. So I was expecting that, but I wasn't expecting the valve cover to be as stuck as it was. And these are the spark plugs. I changed those as well. I threw in some torque settings while I had it out, just in case you wanted to change other maintenance items like spark plugs. They're 18 foot-pounds. I ended up just using my Icon 3/8, and it only went up to like 16.5 foot-pounds and just called it a day. The ignition coil bolt, 71 inch-pounds. The valve cover, 71 inch-pounds. The oil cap is 18 foot-pounds. Oil plug, I use 124 inch-pounds. And I forgot to mention about the RTV. You're supposed, the service manual says to put a bead. There's like a plastic, I'm not sure what it is. It almost looks like the engine is like, has like a separation that runs the whole length from here to here behind the timing chain. And I cut with a razor blade off the excess, and then basically I just put a bead of silicone right over top of it. The manual said 2 millimeters thick, which honestly isn't that much, but I mean, you're free to do it however you want. I don't anticipate a leak. I honestly probably went on the light side, but we'll see. I haven't checked yet to see if it's gonna leak or not. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the big things. It's just how to get those clips off, and I haven't seen too much about the routing of this kit. And oh, one more thing is the hose. This piece comes as a 4.5-inch piece, I believe. And I cut this directly in half, and it gives you about 2 inches, which is roughly about the distance to the old one. And that's a 5/16 line. So, thought I'd mention that. And the kit instructions mentions to buy, this end has another 5/8 barb on it. And then the line I have running back here, the only thing I have to add on is this check valve, which they changed the routing for the 3.4 kit. So this little arrow should go towards the T, I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. And they recommended buying some extra line to do this, but it looks like it may reach. But I will have to cut this, so I may just go get another piece and then add the clip here and then put a little 2-inch piece between here, because it says to put a 2-inch piece between the T and this. So you put a 2-inch piece, then this check valve, and then this, and that should be it. Well, obviously the clamps too, which there is exactly enough clips left to do it. This little clip is not going to work on my car, but it basically goes back there. I mean, I could maybe thread it into this little stub back by the sensor there, but I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be one to the left of the bigger port that's not on this intake. But I mean, honestly, I'm pretty happy with the way I routed that hose, that I'm not too worried about it. Other than that, I think that's about it. So, hope that helps somebody. And then if you do torque the valve cover, there is a sequence. It's right there. I pretty much went around it about 5 times because I kept getting a little bit of tightness each time I torqued it. So I guess keep that in mind. And it says to let the silicone dry an hour before you fully torque it. So, oh yeah, that's right. I just used this Permatex. This one's pretty cool because it's 90 minutes if you were in a hurry. I was able to buy that at Walmart. Let's see. And the spark plugs I used was 41121 AcDelco. That's actually exactly what was in this car. Although it called for 41122, but I didn't have an issue with the 121s. The JB Weld, honestly, I mean, they give you a whole package of it, but I only used half of it. But I would say a quarter would even be plenty. I mean, honestly, like a nickel to a quarter size is probably all you need for the little plug that you put in the intake, and it goes that direction. And if you shine a light in there, you could actually see the plug if you kind of lean over the engine. It's hard to see, but if you get the right angle, you could actually see where it has to go, and it makes it a lot easier when you try and put it in. Other than that, I don't really have anything else.